Okay, where do I begin? It is currently, I don't know, middle of October, October 18th, somewhere in there. Yeah, we've had a whirlwind week. At the start of last Wednesday. Yeah, exactly. It's been 1 week, been 7 days since this story starts. 7 days ago, I told my wife that we were eating better, right? Brittany had been down quite a bunch of calories, and we were trying to eat a bunch, trying to make her eat some. And we ate more. She started eating more and more. And then, like I said, 1 week ago at this point, we had some friends over. She was feeling good enough to have some friends over. And we had them over. So they came over, and Brittany didn't really eat a whole lot. And then the next day, my parents came over, and Brittany slept and didn't really eat a whole lot. And then after my parents were gone, the third day, on the third day, my parents were gone, and Brittany got up, ate 2 bites of food, and it nauseated her, and she laid down and went back to sleep. And after that, I told her grandmother, I said, all right, you come over here, make sure she eats the next day, because we're trying to get her food up, we're trying to get her calorie intake up, and go from there. Well, her grandmother came over the following day. I think it was I don't know when it was. It's like a big, anyway, we went. Her grandmother came over and tried to make her eat a bunch, but she didn't. So I left work. I came home and told her, Brittany, are you ready to meet Jesus? Because she's so frail and so little and so tired all the time. And her eyes popped open, and she was like, no, I'm not. So I said, okay, well, you need to eat more. You gotta eat. So she forced herself to eat, and she started eating that night. And from there, she got really delirious. Like, she started seeing things and talking to people, like, while I'm sitting there just helping her eat. So we get going. We go to the hospital. You have to understand, this is not 100%. Trying to catch a fly. It's flying over my head. Anyway, we got to the hospital. She was severely dehydrated. Her kidney function was up to, I think, 4? Like, 4 is almost dialysis level. Normal is 1. She was at 4. So they started pushing a bunch of fluids. Her sugar had crashed. I mean, it was way, way down. I think 22 was the number they used. I don't know what these numbers mean, but they just said it was bad, so 22. So they got us into a room, and they took a look at her and said, all right, we're going to start her on an IV, and started pushing fluids, started pushing sugar, electrolytes, stuff to get her levels up. This is all such a blur. Anyway, the nurse asked me, well, what are we thinking about treatment? And I said, how do you feel about, feeding tubes? Because she's not getting any nutrients, and she's super, super thin. I think she's like 80 pounds at this point, 85 pounds, somewhere in there. And they were like, how do you feel about a feeding tube? And I said, well, I'm okay with it. Like, let's keep going. And long story short, they were beating around the bush trying to get me to say whether or not she wanted to just give up or whether she wanted to keep fighting. And considering what she told me that night, I went ahead and, yeah. So I told her, yeah, we want to keep fighting. So they said, okay. So they got the feeding tube in. And they also ran some heart tests and some brain scans. And they put the feeding tube in, which is, it is terrible. It is a terrible thing. Don't, no. Feeding tubes are terrible. They are a terrible experience to go through. Necessary, medically necessary, 110%, but a terrible experience to go through. Remember her throwing up bile after they shoved it down. It just came out of her mouth. I was just sitting there just wiping it away. It was bad. Anyway, over the next day, they got the feeding tube in. They're like, all right, her body accepts the feeding tube. We're going to start putting nutrients into her. And for those of you that don't know, it's a bottle. Yeah, I mean, I'm holding with my hand, so you can't really see, but it's about a little bit smaller than the size of my head. And they started at 10% drip feed, and they started dripping the nutrients into her at 10% speed. And she ate it. Obviously, like what they do is they literally pull the contents of your stomach with a tube, with a suction, like a little plunger, and pull out the contents of your stomach and measure to see if you're actually eating, to see if your stomach's digesting this food. And at 10% speed, she was digesting. She was digesting her food. So they pushed her stuff back in and said, all right, let's go. We cranked it up to 20%. And then over those next 8 hours, we waited. This entire time, you have to understand, Brittany is 1 or 2 words, or no words, not saying a word, very, very quiet. I've cried so much over the last few days. You have to forgive me, like I'm not even emotional right now. I can't even get I feel the emotions, but I've been bawling so much for the last week. I feel like anyway. So they crank it up to 20% and they wait 8 hours. And they come back and they say, all right, they do another test, they check and see, and she still has some undigested food at 20%. So they're like, all right, well, this is, we're going to turn it off. We're going to give her another 8 hours and let her digest. Okay, so we give her 8 hours and she digests it again. And once they checked it, they're like, all right, she digested. She, it just took her a little while. We're going to start back over at 10%. And they did. They notched it back to 10%, and they let the cycle continue. In 8 hours, 8 more hours, they check it, and she had just gone so quiet. And they checked this thing again, and her stomach had stopped digesting food totally. Here it is, this 85-pound girl, 90 pounds soaking wet. Her stomach stopped eating. Her stomach stopped digesting food. Her stomach stopped digesting food. Pastors were called, family were called. Everybody was called. And after getting everybody in, everybody kind of came in and quite literally said goodbyes. A lot of family. Family came in, said goodbye, and they pulled the feeding tube, and they asked me, what do you want to do? The options were IV nutrition or go home on hospice. Go home to die. So we heard the IV nutrition was mostly for people who have a stomach injury or stomach surgery and need to heal before they can digest food again. Your body's still going to draw on its own fat stores to repair whatever needs to be repaired. So that wasn't going to help. that would just extend her life. So brought her home. We were released at 5 p.m. It wasn't until 3 a.m. that the ambulance came. It was a nightmare. But this entire time she's unresponsive. Not saying a word. If she does say a word, it's one word. And now we're home. In the meantime, family came by the house and got the house ready. They literally cleaned. I mean, this room was a mess. You could see the floor. You could literally see, they literally went and cleaned the house and brought her home. And I don't really know where they put a lot of our papers, but nevertheless, they did clean. And they brought her home. And hospice came in and they got the paperwork started. Surreal. And this is where things start to go kind of sideways. I'm not quite sure where I should even be saying, but I know I need to be filming. Even though my wife isn't here with me in this moment, I know I need to be filming. So all of her family came in. All of her family came in. Sorry about that. I told you that I've got family staying with us, so they're here. So all of her family came in and said goodbye. And after that first day, it was her mother and her sister who were in there spending some time with her. And they come out, and her sister, Abby, bless her heart, comes to me and says, Darren, she kicked us out. Darren, she kicked us out, and she's asking for you. So I go in there, and up until this point, in the last 5 days, I've heard her say maybe 10 words all day. And at this point, she comes in, she draws me in, and her eyes get wide, and she looks at me, and she says, Darren, I'm about to go in there, and I'm about to jump all over them and tell them to get out of my house. I am trying to sleep. I'm trying to rest. I need rest. I know I need rest, and these people keep aggravating me. And I'm sitting here barely able to contain my laughter and joy and hysteria and looking at her going, oh my gosh, what is happening? And from this point, I'm just beside myself, and all I can think to say is, okay, baby, I will go in and I will tell them. And she says, no, I'm serious. You need to go in there and you need to tell them, or I'm going to. And I said, okay, I'm going to go in there and I'll tell them that they have to go away and no one comes and bothers you and lets you rest, and no one's going to come back until tomorrow. And she goes, no, not tomorrow. I need a week. I need a week of sleep. No one comes in. No one. I'm complete with like facial expressions, everything. I haven't seen this girl make a facial expression in like 5 days, and she's just alive and herself again. And I am, and I tell her, okay, baby, a week. I'll tell them not to come back, period. And she goes, I kid you not, she gave me the stink eye. So I just say, baby, seriously, I will. And she gives me the stink eye again. And I said, baby, come on. She goes, really? And I said, no, seriously, I will go in there. I'm a lot stronger than you think I am. I'll go in there and I'll tell them that you need your rest and that you need to be left alone and whatever. And then she repeated, really? No, because I need you to go in there. And anyway, so I tell her, okay. And I go in and I tell people to go away. That night, I wake up to the sound of a water bottle dropping. This woman has gotten herself out of the bed, walked to the kitchen, grabbed 2 water bottles out the kitchen, had an imaginary conversation with a couple of people, arguing with them about how much water they could have and trading them for Pedialyte and all kinds of ridiculous stuff. But anyway, and then she has this argument and she tells me, yeah, and I fell 3 times and that made me crazy, right? My eyes perk up. And she's like, and now I'm in here. And I said, yeah, and you drop a water bottle and you wake me up and you're standing up and you're walking and talking and like, this is normal. So I call hospice. I'm like, first of all, check her out. What happened? Did she bang her head? Did she fall a bunch of times? And Of course, I didn't realize while I'm on the phone with hospice, I reached down and there's a water bottle on the floor. It's cold as ice. She got it out the fridge. She literally walked into the living room or walked into the kitchen and got water bottles. She got water bottles. Walking on her own. So that was a couple nights ago. The next day, hospice comes by, checks her out. No, she's awake and alert, and they call it rallying, where a person on hospice gets a burst of energy. And they say, you know, it usually doesn't last very long, but they'll have a burst of energy, and they'll do a lot of things and want to go places and do things. And particularly the strong-willed ones. The strong-willed people will do that. And Brittany's anything. She is strong-willed. So I said, okay, we just do the thing. And hold on. And there she is. I'm in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Hey, you.
I was just letting you know that my father was about to come over.
Okay, your father's about to be here, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm in the middle of doing this, and I will be right back, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I'll stay and finish the rest of the video with you.
You want to stay and finish the rest of the video with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm gonna leave y'all alone then.
Okay, thanks, Dad.
Have fun.
My father's with us, as I said. So.
Let's see. It's a husband-wife thing.
Yeah.
Technically, it's my story thing.
Yes, it is your story.
So, yeah. So what all have you gotten 2 parts yet?
Well, I've been talking about, I was about to go into yesterday when you went into the living room and spent the whole day in the living room and just talking and...
Okay.
Okay, he's here. Okay.
Gran said she would stay until she let him in.
FYI, I got butter in here, so you can wash the door.
Okay.
So really, we are active, and she spent all day on the couch yesterday. She hung out with some friends. They came by and saw her. They were all excited. They wanted to see her, and
It really made me good to see some church friends.
yeah.
It's one of these ladies that I do a really close Bible study with Alden. I really, really enjoy just my relationship with her, and so it's been a big difference being able to see her, and yeah.
So, and that's kind of where we are. We spent the whole day yesterday on the couch talking to people, and now it's about 1 o'clock the next day. Apparently, last night, she got up and brushed her teeth in the middle of the night and didn't tell me, only woke me up whenever she was climbing back into bed. You need to stop doing that. You're scaring me half to death. You know you can walk well, but you can walk, but you need help.
But I can brush my teeth by myself.
I know. But anyway, and now people are coming and she's still on her feet. So
I got on my feet last night when I went to take a sponge. Not take a sponge, it makes it sound like we have a pool. We're not that cool. No. It made me feel like we were taking a break.
yeah,
I don't know.
it's okay. So as you can see, this is kind of where we're at. And I just wanted to catch you guys up because it had been a little while, and she looks like she's falling asleep on her feet. So I'm going to get her back to the living room.
I'm not falling asleep. I wish that you would quit telling people that.
You look like you're falling asleep. Why are you closing your eyes?
I'm just a little groggy.
A little groggy, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's good for me.
More to come.
It's good for me to see new people.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of, where are my eyeglasses?
Your eyeglasses?
Yeah.
I'll have to go get them for you. I know where they're at. They're in the living room.
We can take a trip into eyeglass room so I can put those on and finish the video.
Well, we're done with the video, so let's go greet your father.
We're done with the video now.
Yeah.
You can when I figure out what I need to be like. design I usually have them taken in?
What'd you say, babe?
Is this the usual design?
As far as her getting, I thought you usually put it here and turned around and
How
put
do you
your back
fluff her
against
pillow?
this.
I don't know how I fluff her pillows.
Okay.
I don't fluff her pillows at all.
Yeah, Darren just tries every time.
And I try, but I don't succeed. You heard that, right?
Darren tries to do it, but then she ends
Yeah,
up doing it.
that's right.
Yeah,
Is that good?
yeah. Yeah, these have turned into her new favorite blankets.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
They're my favorite kind of blankets too.
And there's Butterball licking the couch,
I bought
licking a hole in the couch.
That's a king size.
Yeah, I'm making fun of you,
I bought
dog.
All right, so you can sit here or sit there.
Piece of wood.
Hey guys, I just wanted to come on here and give some context for about what you're about to see, and talk about what we just experienced. So yeah, we had a crazy few days. Let me just put it this way. After we got home from the hospital, which was like 3 a.m, hospice came in, did their thing, like had me sign the paperwork at 3 a.m. Man, the gotta love it. They take care of you all hours of the night, all hours of the day. I truly love my hospice workers. We got home, and I don't really say like everyone came to see her, right? And I just kind of leave it at that. I mean, we're talking everybody, all of her friends, my family, her family from Arkansas, the very people that she ran from and wasn't in their life anymore. They were all there. They all wanted to see her, and I wasn't gonna say no. You know, who would? Who could? And they all said goodbye. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the crazy thing. They all said goodbye. And I spent the whole day. It was a Sunday. I spent the whole day fielding people, and taking. People were praying throughout the house, and like all kinds of crazy things. Not crazy. Praying's not crazy, but. People, there was a moment, like, I have to understand, I'm changing my wife's diapers at this point. Briefs, I think they call them, for modesty. I remember, they were in the middle of praying, and I had just checked on my wife, and I opened the door, and there was this big, like one of her uncles wanted to, like, read some words from, that he felt called to read, and he was doing this reading, and was kind of just giving a little impromptu, thing. And here I was interrupting everybody, carrying out a dirty diaper to put in the trash can. I mean, make no mistake, everybody was here at the end, for the end. And then as the day dwindled, people started to go home. And that's when her mother and her sister talked to her, and apparently she kicked them out. So yeah, I wanted to touch that base, because that's something that I feel like isn't really talked about. Just the oddity of it. Like, everybody was coming out the woodworks and just be there and see her and say goodbye, and I'm doing these mundane tasks that need to be done, and it just seems so strange to me. But that being said, there's also the thing that I want to talk about. She did film herself brushing her teeth. That she surprised me when she said, "I brushed my teeth last night." It's true. She absolutely did brush her teeth, because she filmed it, 5 minutes of it. And she didn't even use toothpaste. She used Neosporin. I didn't know that until just now. I'd never saw that video before. I never looked at it. Granted, now that I'm going through all of these, I am crying harder than I ever have cried. And since this whole thing, I am bawling. But that moment had this weird, like, oh my gosh, baby, no, not Neosporin. She literally brushed her teeth with Neosporin. No wonder she was having so much trouble and like washing her mouth out and everything during the video. It was terrible. And I feel so bad for talking about it. I never knew. But I think that just goes to show you, like, just how crazy this whole thing was. Like, she was, you could tell by the way she's talking and the way she's acting, like the things haven't clicked on yet for her, and that happens later on. She, you know, we'll see that. But for now, I want to just put a pin in that and move on to a different thing. The next scene that you're about to see, I just captured about 1 minute of it. Whenever all the people from my church heard that, yeah, you just said goodbye to the girl, and yeah, she's rallying, she's back. They all came and did an impromptu hymn singing. Everyone printed out some sheets of hymns, and they sang 4 or 5 hymns, and then just left. And I just felt it important to capture that moment, so I did. And that's actually, yeah, it was just a really cool moment. Also, I want to talk a little bit about the rallying, because rallying is temporary, and this is a thing that happens. And I couldn't tell you what was going through my head, because I honestly don't remember at that time. A part of me certainly was thinking, oh my God, I got my wife back. Another part of me is thinking, well, if this is rallying, you know, she might be here for a day and then maybe gone tomorrow. So I was just wrapped up. And you'll see the last video that in this series, or that I'm going to do in this day, where I'm just holding her at night, and I didn't know if it was going to be the last time, or if I was going to wake up in the morning and she was going to be there again. I didn't know. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure I'm not sure how I made it through. I'm not sure how I slept that night, knowing that I could lose my wife again in the morning. I'm not sure. But nevertheless, I got through. I got through that night too. And so did she. So, anyway, I'll let the video go back to telling the story. But yeah, that's all I wanted to do, is come on and say my piece.
Savior came from glory, how he gave his life on Calvary to save a wretch like me. I heard about his groaning, of his precious blood's atoning. Then I repented of my sins and won the victory. Oh,
So this is a weird video, I know. Trying to get some light on the subject here. Forgive me. That's killer, but okay, that'll do. Yow. So, this is another step in the road. We are at home, and we are currently, we got ourselves some water while we were laying down, and it kind of went into our windpipe, into our lungs. And luckily the nurses have given us some medication to kind of help with that.
Well, okay.
It's called hyoscine. It's a medication that goes under the tongue to help kind of dry up stuff in the lungs. And in the meantime, I hooked up her oxygen, which is not something that we ever wanted to use, but here we are. You can hear it grumbling in the background. Not sure if you can see it. There it is, doing its thing. But here we are. This is another day in the life, or another night in the life, actually. Here we are. So I'm just sitting here holding her up until her throat clears and chest clears enough to where she can lay down and we can get some rest and get some sleep. I don't know. What do you say, babe? You want to keep the oxygen on, or do you want to take it off when you lay down?
No, I was gonna say, remember that somebody needs Jello.
Somebody needs Jello? Okay, well, I'll make sure someone gets Jello, okay? But what do you think about your oxygen? Do you think you should take off the oxygen when you get done coughing?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, when I get done.
Okay. Well, we'll try taking it off and see how it goes. Maybe we won't have to have old wind machine over there, our bellows pumping and coughing all night, huh? Poor thing. So, it's a short video, but Meyer's out.